I'm Aleks.
And I'm Rob.
I'm from Novi Sad, Serbia.
And I'm from New York City.
I'm a Scorpio.
I'm a Taurus.
I'm a man.
And I'm a woman.
We are both very different.
And yet, we have a lot to talk about. You're probably here because you're curious to know how a girl from New York City and a guy from Serbia met, and maybe you're even more curious about how they maintain a long-distance relationship. You might find that out and more in today's episode. Take a listen. So today's episode is a little different than most of our episodes where we normally just start chatting about a certain topic. Today we decided to compile a list of questions from our private lives of all of our friends and family and parents with all their questions about us. And I'm sure most of our audience doesn't really know exactly how our relationship was formed and how this podcast is in existence. We're just here to answer some questions for today. So, Aleks, do you want to start us off with the first question?
Mm-hmm. How did we meet?
Yes. So we're probably gonna do a different episode about this in depth.
We can, yeah.
Because we met on a cruise ship, and just in general, cruise ships is probably also gonna be another episode for all of you to tune into.
Yeah.
How did we meet? Actually, I'm trying to think. I was already working on the ship.
Yes.
And then you guys embarked.
Yes, and I don't know, like we did talk about it. I don't know if I think I met you like the after our gig when all of you guys from show ensemble came to meet us. Probably we like officially met each other then, I think.
Probably, actually. I bet we even shook hands or something. I don't remember that, though.
Yeah, me neither. So I guess like then we kind of already like quotes know each other. So we talked in the crew mess because that's the place where you meet people, especially on the small ship.
Yeah, which is a place where you like go to eat on the ship if you work in the crew.
Yes, yeah, it's called the crew mess. Yeah,
and you'd probably go there like around the same time because if you're in the entertainment department, you don't really have to do anything all day.
Yeah.
So you just kind of go for meal times, and that's when you see people. I remember us talking in the crew mess, but I remember your first day that you embarked. I remember when I first saw you, which was because you and Mirko, which is the drummer in your band, were walking into the crew mess. And I was just like, oh, those must be the two guys in the band, which you were the percussionist and Mirko is the drummer.
I'm also the drummer, by the way.
I should probably mention we should probably mention like how we got on a ship because I was in the theater ensemble and you were in the band.
Yeah. So I know that story. I just forgot about it. You mentioned that. Yeah, you remember us walking into the crew mess together, and you saw us like being very confident because we were fourth time on that ship. Mirko even more times, but let's say fourth time.
Yeah, in my head I was like, I feel like they're gonna be mean because you guys just kind of, I didn't think about it, but you guys had already been working on the ship for so long. Because for anyone who doesn't know, again, the cruise ship, we'll go in depth about this, but basically the way that Alex's contract worked is that he would have like a few months on, a few months off. So at this point he was already doing this contract for a while, so they had a very comfortable routine of getting back on the ship. So when they went to the crew mess, they'd already been there like a billion times before. But for me, having never been on a ship before, and having only been on for, I think, like a month and a half maybe, and I see these guys come in, I'm like, ugh, they're kind of cocky. They don't even, they've never even been on this ship before. Who are these guys? And I was like, that one guy's kind of cute.
That's funny. See? Yeah. You kind of answered the next question, which is, what did you think of each other initially? So you thought of me that I was cute.
Yes, aren't you happy? I was like, oh, he's nice.
I am.
You also, well, my first, like, so we were in the crew bar, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a bar for the crew. And I was chatting with some of my friends, and we were talking about astrology, and all of a sudden this guy, like, that I don't know, like, starts sitting with us and is like, hey, yeah, so I'm Alexander, and I'm a Scorpio, and like,
Me.
and you're a Taurus. Is that what you're saying? And I was like, yeah, I'm a Taurus. I'm really into astrology. We were like chatting about that, and then the next day, I saw you in the crew mess when we were eating, and we were talking about astrology again for some reason, and you were like, yeah, do you remember what my sign is? And I
I
was
know this
like,
story.
Leo or like Libra or something. And you were like, no, I'm a Scorpio. And you like walked away like angry. And I was like, what's his problem? Like, did I just offend him? Which, I mean, now knowing you, that's probably the worst thing I could have said, is to say you're a Leo.
Yes.
Funny.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you think of me initially when you first gazed upon me?
She's kind of quiet, but
Do you still think I'm quiet?
no, that's just a mirage.
Yeah.
um, and I wanted to like get to know you to see what's behind the facade, let's say. So that night in the crew bar, things presented to myself, to myself. Kind of, I just sat next to people I already knew, and then the questions I wanted to ask you anyways, people were asking you about the stars, so I found out what's your sign, like, and some guys were explaining, or one guy who is into astrology, he was explaining to you your natal chart. So, like, yeah, like I said, a lot of useful stuff that I wanted to know, kind of presented to myself by me just being there. Initially, I thought you were interesting, and that you were cute and interesting because you were quiet and keeping to yourself. So
it is so funny that we both are like, we value astrology so much. Again, I feel like this is just really a commercial for all the other podcast topics that are coming out. But we will have something on
Yes.
astrology coming out soon.
Oh, definitely.
Because
Yeah.
we are both really into astrology. I guess that was really our first impressions.
Yeah.
So next question is, why did we agree to date long distance? Really just jumping to from the beginning to the middle.
Yes. to the middle or to the end. I don't know. Yeah.
So we didn't really agree to do long distance. What happened was, like, a few days before I was leaving, I was like, I really hope maybe this relationship could stay past us just working together and maybe could continue. And I had mentioned it to my friend Rafa. I was like, oh, I hope he's kind of thinking the same thing. And I finally got up the nerve to ask you, and you were like, yeah, like, let's see. So we kind of talked about meeting up in between, because I was going to be working for AIDA, which is the company that we work for. I was going to be working for them again in May, and this was in February 2020. I think everyone knows where this is heading.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, so we'll just meet up a bunch before I go back to Hamburg in May. And then we were I think you had mentioned, like, try to work on the ship again as a technician, even though you were in the band, so that we could maybe work together.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened, Alex?
Well, then all hell broke loose. A bunch of things happened, so
But mostly the pandemic, which would prevent
Yes.
us from seeing each other for
from
5
seeing each other.
months.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that happened. So even if we agreed or not agreed, if we were just to keep in contact, it will still be long distance regardless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, we did initially like agreed. We didn't like put anything on paper, obviously, but just it went from there into like discussion in over next few days that how we going to do it. Yeah. And then we didn't see each other for like 5 months anyways, so
Yeah.
which was not initially the plan, obviously. So which brings us to next question. How do you communicate? Do you talk every day?
Yeah, so the first week, we just kind of would do like voice memos and texting. And then I think we didn't even talk on FaceTime until like 3 weeks after I had left.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think when you were back in New York, I
Yeah.
think, was the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just kind of, as the world got more serious, we got more serious. So,
I agree.
you
Good
know,
observation. Didn't think about that.
but the more we were unsure of when we would see each other next, the more we would talk, the longer we would talk on the phone. Usually, I'd say we talk every day, though. There's maybe been like 2 days
Yeah.
in our entire relationship that we
Didn't
talk on the phone, but we just texted.
Yes.
But we still like communicate every day.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the answer. Shortly, do you talk every day?
Yes.
At least like a text or two. That was the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So the next question is a question that my father asked me because I was talking to him on the phone one time. I was like, oh, we got in a little fight. And my dad goes, you got in a fight? How do you get in a fight over the phone? Alex, do you want to answer this question? But at the same time, I'm kind of pigeonholing you into a trap.
Exactly my thought. That's exactly what you want to do. I know. I can answer very diplomatically and basically not say anything.
Oh, okay. Good. All right.
So we did have few fights, but we resolve everything over time.
Yes.
Usually Rob is she's a Taurus, so she can be hot-headed. So and she needs a little bit time to cool down.
Yes.
And once she cools down, she can think straight, and then we come to a conclusion or we agree on something. I think we have, generally speaking, good communications. We have good communication.
Oh, babe, what a diplomatic answer. That was very true.
I told you.
What he didn't mention is that I annoy the crap out of him until we get into a fight. But, generally, I would say most fights happen because of miscommunication. So in the moment, of course, I can't necessarily see that. I would say Alex is very good at, he'll have the intuition of, oh, this is becoming a fight. Let's pull back for a second. And then we usually will talk out where the miscommunication happened and, just try to resolve any issues. And usually what I think is really important for any relationship is acknowledging that you have different opinions. And when you can really understand that the miscommunication either came from true miscommunication or you just have two different opinions. Yeah. Sometimes it's really fine to just we'll just agree to disagree.
Yeah. And especially like my view on things for some topics, especially, it's not the same as yours.
Yeah. We love a self-help video every once in a while. Alex will often send me like a really inspirational video from one of these coaches, or even today before we recorded this podcast, actually, I was looking at my app I have called CoStar, where you can kind of match up each other's astrological reports for the day. And in it, you can kind of see like where your communication troubles lie for the day. I think, just being mindful in general, you can kind of resolve any fight, which isn't what the question was, but how do you fight over the phone? You annoy someone.
The next question would be, how did you know you would see each other again? How did you know? I didn't know.
Me neither. I think that's what drove us to see each other is we finally so we had what? So February 22nd was when I left. So then we had all of March, April, May, June was the witching hour. I was like, I can't do this. This is really hard.
Yeah.
Mostly because for me, it was so hard because I was like, I don't know when I'm going to see you again. It's one thing to be in a long distance relationship where like every self-help website I could find was like, you guys should just like plan the next time you'll see each other and that will make everything that much more. Right. I'm like, it's literally a global pandemic.
This is not helping.
And June was when I was like, oh, I might not see you for another 5 months. I remember us having a conversation one day and I was like, we need to kind of start realizing like it might be another 5 months that I won't see you. And we've already gone, and we're already 3-4 months in.
Yeah.
And then July hit.
Yeah. And the July was also kind of tough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was.
It was.
But then I think our final conversation in August, I was in Vermont and we were talking about something, like we were having a really stupid argument. Like we were talking about like
Mm-hmm.
like the moon or something, and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if I could trust you, and you were like, what are you talking about? I was like, I really think what I mean is like I need to see you. Like we can't, like I hate arguing and not being able to see you. Like that's what kills me the most, is like having some sort of misstep and not even being able to like
Mm-hmm.
console each other once everything's better. And we were just at the point where we were like, we have progressed so much in our relationship. Like, how is it possible that we can't be in the same place? And then the numbers in New York went down and the numbers in Novi Sad went down. And I was like, I'm booking tickets.
Yeah.
And you were like, what?
It was, yeah, it came out of the blue, to be honest. I think in July I didn't even, you were just like watching the numbers or something of like a corona cases. I think even told you that there are like direct flights from New York to Serbia, from New York to Belgrade, but you were kind of declining it or didn't like acknowledge it at all. I was just, okay, I wouldn't.
Air travel is terrifying until, like, I will say I have some friends that had flown before I did, and I don't think I would have done it if I hadn't seen that they were fine. Because at this point, like, in the US, we were being told that people were people are still flying on airplanes and not wearing masks. And the numbers were just too high in the US to make that
Yeah.
judgment call to be like, oh, I will definitely be fine. And of course, I mean, even since I visited, so I ended up visiting in late August, and we're recording now almost into October. And I didn't even know that there was we know so much more now about this disease, that it's passed through aerosols. Like that's kind of the general consensus right now. I would love if in a year from now we find out everything I'm saying is false.
Probably.
But as of right now, like we actually know like safety protocols that you can do to like make sure that you're safe while flying. So I was able to, take a direct flight, and as I said, it was basically like house to house service. Like I left my house in Brooklyn, took a direct flight, and then Aleks picked me up right in Novi Sad.
Yeah, from Belgrade to Novi Sad with the car. So yeah.
So yeah, answer to the question: how did we know? We didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. Especially
it was all luck.
At certain points, I was also. That's another topic, but I was stuck on the ship beginning of the June almost. So yeah, that didn't help in like knowing.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the global pandemic didn't help for us to see each other. So
yeah, because you were stuck on the ship while the pandemic was unfolding. That's when we knew, oh, we're not going to be able to see each other at least until May, because you were on the ship in March and then April rolled around and you were still stuck. And Aleks was supposed to leave the ship, I think, was it like a week or two after I left?
Yeah, like, let me think, it was 22nd. Yeah, like, I think 3 weeks from you. Yeah, something like 20 days, something like that.
So the next question is, Rob, do you know Serbian?
Did you get that question a lot?
Yes, or like, how could you possibly visit Serbia without knowing the language? And I was like, well, I have a personal translator.
Yes.
But the answer to that question would be no. How do you say no in Serbian? Nah?
Nah.
Nah. Yeah. The answer? Nah. Or kind of. Hvala. Dobro.
See,
I know enough to be really polite. Good. Thank you.
So next question was like, what makes us work well together? I don't know. It's magic.
What do you think? What makes us so magical?
I can split it both way. I can go diplomatic. I can go. Let's say we are both persistent.
Strong-willed. we have to follow through.
Yeah. I know for myself personally, I don't like give up on things easily. I'm not giving up
Yeah.
person. Try something and just give up.
Yes.
Uh,
You also are very strong-willed, though, I think, which is a really good quality about you.
Thank you.
I think we both have humility for the other. We really try to understand the other person, or at least,
Yeah.
you know, I would say in your case probably like forgive my faults.
Oh, especially with you, some things really need patience.
Yeah. Love.
Yeah, love, and also that you came to see me, so we saw each other again, and basically was the same or even better. So
Better, I think.
there you go. So
I mean, I think in general, like, we really have a commitment towards each other, and we always have. There's always been a sense of, like, trust, commitment of the other person, and a need to work, to not give up. And also we could talk about a lot of things together forever.
Oh yeah, that's true. One of the reasons we started this podcast.
Yes.
I just needed a compadre to start it. That this was my idea basically for like a year or something.
And I happen to have the sound background to help it happen.
So I don't have to learn 150-second thing that I needed to learn because I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now people are going to be like, wow, they're really just elevating each other, and I don't really care to listen to this. But I'm just going to say it anyways.
Yeah, like literally.
But a big thing that I love about Aleks is that he is a student of life. He really loves to learn and is extremely smart and knowledgeable about so many different topics that we really, and I am constantly ignorant and very curious on a lot of topics. So most of the time we could just talk about, I remember when we first got together and we were first doing long distance, sometimes we would sit and you'd tell each other your boring day in quarantine. I'd be like, today I woke up and I ate some bread, and then I watched some TV with my roommates, and one of my roommates made me laugh. And then Aleks would be like, I'm stuck on the ship, and my roommate just came in, and now we're going to go eat. But then we would just pick a topic, and we'd just kind of run with it. We'd be like, all right, let's just choose a random topic and run with it. Yeah, and then by June, you were like, we should, you know what you would love? To do a podcast. And I was like, you know what I would hate? To do a podcast.
Yeah, of course, she was against it initially.
And now anytime that I'm like, oh, I'm excited about this, Aleks is like,
Yeah, what we used to do, like back when I was on the ship, sometimes we would have a nice unrecorded podcast episode. So
yes. Oh, what a sweet way to put it. Yes. In our last segment, we chatted about questions that people had for us during a long-distance relationship. And I guess now we're just going to spitball any advice that we would have for people entering a long-distance relationship. So, Aleks, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very important to communicate. Luckily, we have technology to do it. Maybe more important is FaceTime.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, we always talked about, like, imagine if we had met in, like, 2003. We wouldn't, what options would we have? We've had to use long distance calling.
Yeah.
We'd end up writing letters to each other. There's no way it could survive, but
I think the one of the most important things also is like finding out how the other person is communicating in general.
Like the style of the other person's communication.
Yeah.
What works best for them.
Yes, and some people can be like awkward or will come out like worse than they actually are if you're in the same room with them. So it can be tricky. That's like with the texting, it's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it has to be, I think, even more, you have to be tolerant, or even more like there is like a problem, you need to discuss even more in detail. Like just like put your egos aside, maybe not right away, but once you cool down or something, then it's not easy, and it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But it can be done. I think I'm done.
Yeah, my advice would be learn how, kind of what you were saying, learn how to be vulnerable, and learn how to be vulnerable over the phone. which is really hard. You have to figure out how each other works and be willing to commit to the other person's availability to be honest, and you need to let the other person know that they can trust you.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, I think it was that we committed to each other very early on. Before we even left the ship, we said, like, I'm committing to seeing this to the next time we see each other.
Yes.
No matter what
Yeah.
happens. And you kind of need
true.
that. Yeah, you kind of need that going in. And, you know, just like any relationship, be willing to face the good parts and the bad parts.
Oh yeah. You have to embrace both.
And as you always say, find the positivity. For someone like me, it's really easy for me to fall into the negatives of things. And I think being with you has really allowed me to be more aware of when I'm being negative and when I need to let something go. Yeah, being vulnerable is just really important to a long-distance relationship.
Thanks for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about in our next episode. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @We Have a Lot to Talk About podcast. Until next time, ta-da!